I'll give you another 3 years on this. As long as you went on the bridge, I'll drive around. Then driving all the way. I think they're gonna make it. Well, it looks like that could go by Thanksgiving.
It is definitely like, it's just, it's to go to, of course, I'm not a trained guy, so.
To me, it looks like what they were doing is just finishing such. It's just like a good drill.
Why don't you do that tonight?
Like that.
I think I'll last right.
See what's doing.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll see if we can get her going. You got Spirit of Wine, Race Havoc, Lauren.
Explain about it. I got it.
Just get it going. There's a lot of them. No, I just wasn't the dirty.
Yeah.
It's just not sure. It's. Now. The political. Which we don't. And it dumps into that.
It's not.
So that's something during around.
I'm ready for it. Exploration. Counties and that.
You know, he said.
I'm real good. Yeah. I think a lot of it is people try to make it more interesting. What it is. It comes down to the basics. What did you get? What did you keep up? You had everything in life. And all you're doing is just report to the people got what they give. Tell me that now you're a little late. It's a very simple part. My students are always saying, like, we're so like, let's say, that's, I know that's one of the town, like, you guys.
We've been over there for some months.
Yeah.
Somebody bring cookies or.
I'm good, how are you?
I was on my agenda, I must have forgotten.
Mr. Murphy, how's it going?
Walking around, seeing what's happening, I'm sitting there watching, talking to citizens.
I love seeing the full house. Right?
Nice last night. Because that's the first part of the meeting. Yeah, I was just listening.
So I was on the first 40 minutes, when I had my regular council meeting last night. I'm like, I don't know what way this is gonna traject from here. Well, I talked to Dave this morning and
You know, that person saying, oh, that's, yeah. Boy, this is gonna be a long night. Wait,
hey,
Make a lot of sense.
it was kind of reversed. I thought the first was just straight.
See this crap? None of this makes any sense.
I know.
But it's still. Let's go back.
Also, I forgot to send you.
Anyways, number check it, but then also, right.
There's no way.
So I think. The key for this side is just something about but excuse me, yes, so.
It's spicy so much, but I like really. It's a
lot of black.
You know, right now. I told him, I said, hey. And so the somebody had their role, their personal number on.
So he's a phone of friends, isn't he?
I tried, yeah, I tried to get one of them. Next time. It's a problem.
Good evening. The time is 6 p.m. I will call to order the November 18th meeting of the Huxley City Council. I will note that we are streaming live on YouTube, and it's available anytime. Roll call, please.
Murphy,
Here.
Mulder,
Here.
Rigler, Etcher,
Here.
Roberts. Here. Let the record show that Rigler is absent.
Okay, need a motion to approve the agenda.
We give you a motion?
Motion Mulder,
Second.
second Mr. Etcher. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mulder,
Here.
Etcher,
Yes.
Roberts. Yes. Murphy.
Yes.
Now is the time in the meeting for public comment. I will note, if you're wishing to speak on the rezoning matter, you'll have that opportunity here in just a few minutes. This portion of the public comment would really be for anything other than the rezoning matter. So is there anybody wishing to be heard this evening on anything other than the rezoning matter? Okay, seeing no one rise. The time is 6:03 and I will open up the public hearing. Before I proceed with that, I just want to do a quick overview of the process that the city is going through here, just so everybody is aware. Of course, the rezoning request includes what I'll call two parcels or two properties. There's the Madrid home building site, and then there's the undeveloped land to the north of that. And that's what we're here tonight to discuss, is the rezoning of those two parcels. The Planning and Zoning Commission met on this matter last evening and viewed a presentation by the developer and heard some comments from the public, discussed the matter, and ultimately they moved forward with a favorable recommendation to council to rezone this. The next step is a public hearing. That's what we're here tonight to do, and we'll hear from the citizens. Council will get to hear directly from the citizens on their thoughts, concerns, et cetera, on this matter. The next step will be a council meeting on November 25th, where this city council will discuss it amongst the council and ultimately take a vote. It does take 3 readings, so the first vote would occur at the November 25th meeting. If that vote is successful, the second and third readings would presumably be at December meetings. That hasn't been scheduled out yet, but presumably that would happen in December. I mentioned ultimately, obviously, there is a vote by council. The city did receive a petition from some citizens. There's a unique provision in the Huxley Municipal Code as it relates to rezoning requests. And if an appropriate petition is submitted and received by the city, as it was, it forces what's called a supermajority vote. In other words, 4 out of the 5 council members would need to vote in favor of the rezoning. The mayor doesn't get to vote on anything. So it would take 4 out of the 5 city council members to ultimately approve this. And that would be for all 3 readings. So that's kind of an overview of the rezoning process. After the rezoning process, if it's successful, there would then be a site plan process. And the process really kind of starts all over. Staff reviews the site plan. It goes to planning and zoning for their recommendation. It then comes to council. Council reviews and approves site plans. It would then go to our consultant, our third-party building department. They would review it for building compliance. And permits would be issued. So that's kind of a brief overview of the rezoning process and site plan process for those that might be interested. That gets us to back to tonight's public hearing. The way this is going to run tonight, I'm going to first give the developer, Ms. Gilroy, an opportunity to give a presentation or an overview of her project. I think that would be helpful. After that presentation, anybody from the public wishing to speak absolutely has an opportunity to and is encouraged to. I will say those public comments, it's a one-way conversation. It's you talking to the council. It's not a question and answer period with the council or with the developer. It's you speaking to the council and letting us know what your thoughts and concerns might be. After the public has their opportunity to speak, I'll give Ms. Gilroy an opportunity to make any closing comments. And after that, we'll close the public hearing and adjourn the meeting. There's no council action tonight, no council discussion or anything of that nature. So with that, I will give Ms. Gilroy an opportunity to overview her project.
All right, good evening. I'm Abby Gilroy with the North Park Road Development Team, and I'll be the representative for this rezoning request here tonight. I do want to thank you all for setting this special hearing tonight. It was really important to the community and everyone that was at the meeting on the 27th that we have this hearing a little bit earlier than the holiday week. So really appreciate your time and coming out tonight to do this and getting us on the agenda. You can hit the next slide. I was going to start out just a little bit about myself. So I've been in real estate development for about 20 years. Started in a commercial type role with Wells Fargo Home Mortgage and Come and Go convenience stores, and really was looking for something that was a little more, I guess, fulfilling, and use my skill set for a more mission-minded type development approach. And so started working for an organization in Des Moines where we did revitalization of neighborhoods through commercial development, and then started to see a need really in communities surrounding Des Moines and statewide for housing and job recruitment, job retention, those sorts of things in communities. And so started working with the communities you see up there, and we do have workforce housing apartment type projects in all of those communities, and that has expanded here to the north to Huxley. So that's how I ended up here, and a little bit about my history. You can go to the next slide. So tonight, what we're requesting is a rezone of the properties you see there. You did touch on these. It's the former Madrid home facility at 908 Highway 69, and then head north to the next four vacant lots of 1001, 3, 5, and 7. We will also be acquiring the parcel all the way at the north along Centennial. That is 1009 North Park, but that is going to remain a commercial zoning to align with Vision Bank there next to it. Okay, next slide. Couple things as to why I'm here, why Huxley, how we came upon this site. What I'm looking for in communities when I decide where I'm going next is I'm looking for development opportunities within communities that are development minded and looking for growth. There's population trends that are upward trends with population. Jobs are expanding, new jobs are coming in. Connectivity to other communities that may have more services than the current community. And then schools, are they well funded? Are they well supported? Do they have good reputation, just like Ballard does here? Demographics and infrastructure, where those things, are they in place that will support a development if we were to develop here? Next. And then we kind of narrow that down to site selection. So yes, we like this community. It checks all the boxes. Where are we going to go? And so we start to look for properties. I look under these four kind of categories. So I look at the adjacent uses. What does the site have connectivity to? Are there services near the site? Is it walkable? Are there amenities like parks and schools, those sorts of things nearby? We then look at adjacent zoning. I'm not in the business of dropping housing in the middle of an industrial district or a commercial district. I really like to find these infill sites that are already existing within a neighborhood and within the community so that our tenants can feel like they're part of the community itself. And then we look at housing demands. If there's a housing study in place, wonderful. If not, we encourage a city to work with us on acquiring that. Or we can go county level and look for a study there. If there is not one there, we just kind of go word of mouth. So what has the city experienced in the past? What are you seeing with housing trends? And get the information there. Luckily in the situation, Story County had done a study through RDG Design and Planning back in 2021. And then the city worked with MIPA this past year to get a housing study with some updated data points. So we were lucky to have a lot of information to work with. And then we look at your comprehensive plan. If one isn't in place, again, we work with city staff and leadership to understand what the city's goals are and visions. I want to bring a project that the city wants. I don't want to come into the city and tell you this is what you need. I would spend a lot of time working with stakeholders in each town to make sure they get something that's going to serve the community well, long-term. So a little more detail on that to site specific. So looking at our site, adjacent uses, this one just kind of hit it out of the park for us. It met all the criteria, the things that I look for. What's even better is it's really development ready ground. It has utilities and infrastructure serving it already. It's centrally located within a residential area. You have ball fields, recreational fields, parks, connectivity to the school, you have grocery across the street, a lot of services just south in that commercial district you have. And so it was really a well-connected site and kind of checked a lot of the boxes for us. Adjacent zoning, oops, that's okay. So this, I just took your overall zoning map and just kind of zoomed in on this area that we're discussing tonight. So you can see all of the yellow is currently R1 zoning, residential zoning, and then it goes to some orange, kind of other tints of that color. That is an R2 and a R1A, it looks like. And then you see our kind of purple, what I'm calling kind of this sore thumb of commercial that kind of works its way into the neighborhood. And so what I'm really seeking is to achieve a more traditional layout of zoning where we kind of transfer from an R1, which is that yellow, to an R2 and then into an R3 for a national or natural transition to the commercial corridor. So that would be what we're seeking here this evening. So I wanted you to see the adjacent zonings and how we ended up here. Housing needs, I think you've all seen the housing study that came out, but there's also a lot of really great information in the Story County housing study. It spoke directly to Huxley. I did not look at the data of the county as a whole. I just kind of referenced that, but tonight I'm just referencing things that only speak to Huxley. You see your population's obviously trending upward. Your vacancy is very low, which, you know, in the housing study, they talk about kind of the danger of having such low vacancy. It can deter people from coming just because there isn't a lot of variety of housing types. In fact, 60% said it was difficult to find a home, and 45% knew somebody that had to leave Huxley to find housing. So I thought that was interesting. The needs are housing for diverse household types, incomes, ages, 318 housing units with 41% being renter occupied. RDG, their numbers were a little higher with 404, and then 84 vacant units, just to get you to a healthy vacancy rate of that 7.5. Contributors to these needs, it's just your general population growth and then job growth as well. And there was an interesting fact in there too, that there's over 1,100 people that commute into Huxley each day for work. So capturing them and getting them to live within the community is something this housing could allow for. Lastly, we look at the comprehensive plan. So this is a plan that most cities have in place. It is somewhat of a living document, is kind of how it can be treated. It's a statement of your policy intent for growth, but it should be reviewed regularly, really by staff and city leadership to make sure there aren't any amendments that need to be made. Trends might be changing with the way the town has grown. This is a 12-year-old plan, and I think you're in the process of maybe updating this or seeking RFPs for an update. So that's probably good timing for that. Couple of things I pulled out of there that I thought we were aligning well with was encouraging a variety of land uses and living environments in order to maintain the city's tax base and provide ample development opportunities. This is a site that we all know was previously owned by Madrid Homes, which is a tax exempt property owner and operator. So this property will be coming off of a tax exempt status and going straight into obviously a non-exempt status. So with an investment this big, I think that's going to really increase tax base. It's going to provide a nice source of funds to the city pretty quickly in short time. So I think that will lend to a lot of comments that were made maybe during our community meeting with improvements to parks, improvements to traffic flows, parking lots, things like that. So hopefully projects like that, like this, are seen in that regard, and that can really benefit the community in that way too. And lastly, in there, I grabbed the encourage. If you go back up one more, that's okay. Encourage redevelopment of vacant commercial and residential sites within the city to utilize existing infrastructure. And that's something I actually already touched on, but that is what we're doing here in using a site that already has a lot of the services serving it. So there won't be any requests of the city for infrastructure costs or anything like that. Okay. With this process, what I did, I held a community meeting on October 27th. I like to do this in every project I do. It's not required as part of the process, but I think it's really important to have these meetings. One, it puts a face with a name. We're going to potentially be neighbors. If I lived across the street, I would want someone to come and talk to me about what's going on across the street and get my feedback, because it's new, it's change, and that can be scary. So I held this meeting here at the library. We had a great turnout. I think there were 49 chairs and we had people standing. So I was very impressed with the turnout. I don't always get that. So this community clearly cares about what's going on and the growth and the changes that are coming. So, but some of the things I wanted to talk about, because some things were brought up that night and I have them listed up here. And I did from that meeting I heard what people said. I took it to heart, went back and just started doing some homework so I could bring some answers back to everybody tonight. So property values was one of the very first questions, and I did not have an answer to that night. I didn't want to just rattle off something I thought. I wanted to make sure I had some valuable information to that. So I did look into some studies. A lot of them referenced low-income housing, which this isn't. This is a market housing project, but I did find the Urban Land Institute had a good study out there that talked about that they found no significant decrease in surrounding home values. In many cases, a lot of them appreciated more so than comparable homes that were elsewhere, especially near blighted or vacant properties. I then talked with the assessor as well, just to see more at a local level. And multifamily occurs throughout many towns, like multifamily adjacent to single family occurs all over several towns and cities throughout the state. And lower valuations are not a result of those properties being adjacent to each other. So I went ahead and looked even more locally and looked at properties that are adjacent, next to, behind, what have you, other multifamily properties. And they have continued to increase in value over the years at a 2 to 2.5% increase. So typically, if there is going to be a decrease, that requires going in for a protest and saying why a multifamily product would affect taxes. He did say, though, that, more commercial or retail, things that you can't control as much, those nuisance properties can affect values of properties. Traffic, there was a lot of conversation about the existing issues maybe with traffic, especially there at Centennial, North Park, Centennial and the highway. I talked with the city about that afterwards. A couple of investments and changes have been made there, one with the traffic signal, also timing. And this has contributed to a little less congestion there from what I'm being told. I did go a step further and engaged a traffic engineer in Des Moines and got some actual data pulled on that. That consultant used the Institute of Transportation Engineers trip generation model, which is a very reputable source. And what that showed is that there will be, at the AM peak hours, entering the property would be 6 trips entering the property in the AM, and exiting the property would be 20. And then in the PM, we would expect about 21 trips and 12 trips exiting. And I wanted to compare that and ask them to take it one step further and look at a strip center or commercial property. And that increased quite a bit to 28 trips in the morning and about 66 trips in the evening. And then asked about convenience stores, and they go obviously skyrocket to about 120 trips in the morning and 131 trips in the evening. So I know there are a lot of units being talked about here, but when they use a lot of this historical data that's been around for a very long time, she assured me that these numbers and these figures are correct. So I wanted to kind of explain where we came up with that information. Safety wise, I feel like there was a comment made, a concern about safety. And with this project, our intention is to extend that sidewalk along it would be the west side of North Park, connecting that will then take you to Centennial and safely across the highway to the bike trail. We also, just getting that vacant building occupied is going to be really important and increase safety as well. Every time I go there, there's just one more thing kind of messed around with. So I know right now it's kind of shenanigans and fun and games, but that can absolutely, I guess, breed into more. And so I think it will be helpful to have on-site management and people occupying that building. Quality of our builds was another piece. These are very high quality builds. We do that for a reason. It's less to maintain and replace in the future. They hold up better. Each unit has the 0 entry private entrance. We don't have any common corridors or anything in this building. There's quartz countertops, stainless appliances, washer dryer. Everyone has their own single family size water heater, furnace, central air conditioning. So a really high quality product, and our renderings show that. Management and operations, that will be on site. We hold our properties to a very high standard, very high regard when it comes to managing the property. This is our tenant's home. And so it's very important to us that it is that way. We are also neighbors to our neighbors, and it's important that it be maintained in that regard too. You can visit any of our properties. I had some letters written from other city leaders just to as credibility that we do keep these properties to a very high regard. We expect that out of our tenants as well. And so when you respect your own property, they will respect it as well. And that has been kind of our motto since we've begun. So access, this came up as well. Right now, that site plan, it was just kind of a concept. We had to throw something together just to see if we fit there. That access is showing going off of into North Park in 2 locations. We have our 908, the existing building will go out to Highway 69 as it does today. There was some discussion of trying to connect the 2 sites and send some of that North Park traffic south to Highway 69 exit off of 908. But there's some concern from DOT and increasing traffic going out of that access point. So we just have more work to do and feasibility work to do on that. I just didn't have enough time between the 27th and now to do that. But it's at least on our radar. We're aware that it's a concern, and it will be addressed in the site plan process. Stormwater, this was something that may, sounds like existing stormwater might be an issue in some of the properties there from existing or previous developments. We can't offer regional detention by any means, but we do have detention shown at the south end of our property. And that will hopefully lend to some sort of resolution or relief for some of the stormwater buildup in that area. And density, this is a proposal for a medium density type site. Our building footprints are going to leave quite a bit of open space. If I did my math right, I didn't hear back from the city engineer quite yet, but if I do my math right, there's about 3 acres of open ground between the buildings, along the perimeter of the buildings, could be upwards of 4, but we certainly could drop a lot more units in this site, a lot more density, but we just don't feel it's responsible with everything else around us, with the neighbors that we have. So with this design, our buildings are pulled as far west as we can to Highway 69 with setbacks in mind, of course. We have berming along the sidewalks with plantings on top so that it's somewhat, there's somebody across the street, but you're still looking out your window and seeing, vegetation like you do today. So hopeful that this thoughtful design is seen that way. McDonald's came up, and I hate to bring it up here, but one thing that was said was what happened with McDonald's is why we're here, and now we're using our voices. And I just want to be really certain that this is held, that these two are 2 separate topics. That project I don't know enough about, so I can't speak to it, but I don't want our project being viewed negatively because of what happened there, or being held hostage because of something that happened there. These are 2 separate projects. I've been nothing but intentional and transparent with our plans here, and I'm hopeful that they will remain 2 separate issues. There was an email that came out in the packet. I'm just going to tack this on to my presentation. An email was in the packet, and I just want to address those things for you as well. The landscape buffer that was mentioned in there is not something, I did meet with the city engineer about it because I wanted to understand that piece. The landscape buffer is a buffer that is provided by a commercial property. It is not the responsibility of a residential property to create that buffer. So that isn't something that we will be held responsible for doing, and we will be addressing that in the site plan process. Detrimental to the neighborhood, we've already spoken to values. We've talked about density, talked about traffic, talked about safety. Ownership was something that had come up. I don't market my property management company. I never will. I self-manage. I only manage the properties that I have with my partners. And so that is why I do not, you will not see marketing out there. We had a property that was listed on the market. It's a different set of investors than this project. And that was a situation where they were looking to divest something in their portfolio to invest in another project in the community. So, but that is no longer the case. None of the properties are for sale at this time, and it will maintain that for now. Apartment needs, I addressed this with the housing study. Spot zoning, this was brought up as well. Spot zoning, just that by definition, it grants a small area a more beneficial zoning than the surrounding area. And I feel what we're requesting is we're seeking the same zoning. As we are leaving that commercial lot along with the commercial to front Centennial, and then we are asking for our zoning to match that or the same zoning surrounding us. So I don't feel like that is an issue. And then Gateway, coming into your city, if you're coming in from the north heading south, you start to see the type of density that we're talking about, kind of the bi-attached homes. You see a lot of residential. You're going to continue to see residential when you hit our site. And then you really hit your commercial corridor when you get to Flight and Fairway and those types of uses. So I feel like that Gateway happens a little bit north of us, but we're certainly part of it. And I think that our design and scale will align perfectly with what's around us. Last night vacancy was brought up. There's a lot of circumstances that go into vacancy and why vacancy occurs. There were a property that was mentioned last night. We don't know what causes vacancy. It can be the quality, it can be the location, it can be the size, it can be the landlord, it can be the operations. You just don't know. So I can't really speak to why those units are vacant, but what I do know is what the study says, and that it's very low in this community. So in closing, finally, this site is designated really as blight in the state standard. It's vacant. It has sat vacant for a very long time. Alternative uses for 908 I did talk with the seller and the broker on this. Alternative uses that have looked at the site are rehab medical facilities, temporary workforce housing, a hotel. And with the vacant site, as harsh as this sounds, someone could show up next week with a commercial plan for a retail strip center or a convenience store. And it could be done without any regard of the community and the neighbors around it. Once that zoning's in place, it's very difficult to deny that. And we just saw that happen. So I'm here today just asking for permission to develop something that I feel is different. It's thoughtful, it's accommodating. I think it will serve the community well, long-term, and be impactful. So commercial here does not meet the needs of the neighbors, and nor does it fit in really with the adjacent properties. And so I'm asking for a rezoning to R3.
Okay.
There's nothing. Thank you so much for allowing me all that time.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for your
Yeah,
comments.
of course.
So now is the time in the public hearing to hear from the community. And again, this is not a question and answer type of session. This is just your opportunity to let council know what your thoughts and concerns are. The council members are certainly taking notes, and we'll respond to those next week at next week's meeting. So anybody from the public that wants to be heard on this, I just ask you to come to the lectern and start with your name and address.
Mayor and Council, thank you for the time. My name is Dylan Klein. I'm with the Ames Regional Economic Alliance at 304 Main Street in Ames, and I serve as the Economic Development Liaison for the City of Huxley. I work closely with David Haugland, who obviously is not here tonight, on various projects of economic development throughout the city. I think it's important to note that Huxley is not like other communities of its size. Huxley is growing. Huxley, and that's not the case for every community the size of Huxley in Iowa. Huxley has an opportunity to just last evening at the Planning and Zoning Commission, we talked about this project, but we also talked about another project that will be requesting rezoning for an industrial project that will bring 130 jobs to the community. We've got existing businesses here in the community that are actively speaking with for expansions. One that will bring 15 jobs, another that is looking to relocate its headquarters within the state to Huxley into Blue Sky Commons, bring another 15 to 20 jobs. Huxley is growing. And so I see this as an opportunity to provide movement in the identified need of the housing study of a 2% vacancy, but not just of any property. This is a unique property that provides a front door to people, not shared corridors, not a density housing project. It provides a housing project that fits the scale that is appropriate for the location it is in the community on Highway 69. The other thing I see is that I see the properties, the vacant property and the Madrid home as potentially stranded assets within the community. Abby used the term blighted, but I think a stranded asset is maybe more of how I would picture it. You've got a commercial property that has been vacant for 20 years. To me, demonstrates that there is not a commercial demand for this property. The ask is to go from to an R3, which fits, as Abby pointed out, the zoning, surrounding zoning of residential, goes from an R3 to an R2 to an R1, which is a logical transition from a zoning standpoint. But I think more importantly, the unique and creative reuse of the Madrid home. That is a building that, as you've seen in other communities, there was a hospital in Nevada that sat vacant for a long time. And became, I think, the definition of blight. And that is being transitioned to housing. We've seen schools that have closed throughout the state that are being transitioned instead of torn down and converted to commercial properties and things that don't necessarily fit within the neighborhood. They are being converted to housing. So taking the Madrid home and converting that to housing to bring it, as Abby pointed out, onto the tax rolls and to have it as a building that contributes to the need of housing within the community that was identified in the housing study that was completed this year is, I think, just commendable. So what I don't think is said enough to folks that come to a community looking to use their creativity and spend their dollars to solve a problem in a community is thank you for your investment, for your interest in our community. So wanted to extend that thank you to Abby for looking at the community of Huxley and seeing the opportunity that everyone that I'm looking at now sees and knows exists. And then the other thing I want to point out is that Abby was awarded for this project a workforce housing tax credit. So that is an application that is highly competitive through the state of Iowa, through the Iowa Economic Development Authority, for projects that are geared toward workforce housing. Now, I want to clarify that that is not low income housing. It is not qualified income housing. So anybody can live in these units. They can be owner occupied, they can be multifamily, they can be rental properties. But what the state is looking for is a qualified developer. It's a rigorous application process. They're looking for a qualified developer that has funding for the project, that has community support, not only from the city, but also from business owners. And so they require letters of support for the project. And the Ames Regional Economic Alliance worked with Abby she did her own application, but we worked with her to provide letters of support and things like that. So it is a rigorous application process, and her application was awarded a $1 million tax incentive for the scope of the project that you will be reviewing once the rezoning is complete. So this project also has the backing of the state of Iowa from the Iowa Economic Development Authority to award this project in a very competitive field. So overall, I want to say that the Ames Regional Economic Alliance supports this development, and I hope that you will support it as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hi, my name's Becca Cabrick. I live at 200 North Park Boulevard. My notes. All right, so hello, my name is Becca, and my husband Derek and I live at 200 North Park Boulevard, and we lived there since 2017. As the only property that borders both the former assisted living building and the undeveloped land, I wanted to share our thoughts on the proposal since we've heard many criticisms from our community. For years, we've anticipated the land to be developed into either an extension of the assisted living building or multi-story apartment buildings crammed together. We were pleasantly surprised to see such nice single-story spaced out units with ideas fully fleshed out, such as trash being closer to Highway 69 and planned landscaping. We were also pleasantly surprised to see the former assisted living building transitioned into apartments. In the past couple months, kids have caught on that the building is vacant, and on 4 separate instances, we've watched various kids try to break into the outbuilding, one group being successful. If these buildings continue to sit vacant, the break-ins and deterioration of the building will continue to get worse. Converting them into apartments will be a good way to utilize the empty building and generate income for the city. Our major concern for this project is the water drainage along the south backside of North Park Boulevard, west towards the drainage ditch along Highway 69. For those who aren't aware, water has a hard time draining into that proposed water detention area at the south end of the undeveloped lot. Intense rains can cause our entire backyard to flood for days, making it unusable. Luckily, we've been able to keep the water out of our house, but I want to emphasize that if done incorrectly, we will end up with water in our home. We ask that the city and the developers take great care when addressing the water drainage issues. Lastly, we were unfortunately very surprised by the hostility displayed by our neighbors and community members at the October informational meeting. The most upsetting comments were about the types of people that would be renting the proposed row houses, such as poor people, messy people, etc. Our community should be a welcoming place for everyone to live and work and not be judged based on the type of home they live in. All in all, I trust our city council to make the best decision for our community. And if this does pass, for the city to hold the developer and their team to a high standard that Huxley residents present and future deserve. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you for your comments.
Jamie Rochlow with 301 North Park Boulevard. I've been a resident in Huxley since 2006. I understand what's in front of the council tonight with the hearing. Understand the voting that you guys get going forward. Just want to state that I'm not a fan of the R3 proposed. Would prefer to see it stay R1, R2, or commercial. So that's all that I got. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments.
My name's Alan Shpool, live at 1100 Northwood Circle. Looks like a nice project. I think we can agree that commercial is probably not the right designation for this property. Like the previous speaker, I think that probably we are best to maintain the integrity of the neighborhood with similar kind of buildings. We've got a city that's expanding. I understand that we need this. I'm sure this project could fit, some other places too. Would probably take a lot of work, but I think that probably some of the traffic things are going to be one of your biggest challenges there, my personal opinion. The 2.5% that she mentioned increase in home values, that's probably pretty low, compared to what we've seen. So that analysis says that maybe they don't expand as fast as recent home values have increased anyway. So I just think, while maybe a nice project, it is not the best one for this area. And the lady there that talked about the drainage, I think that could be a potential problem too. If you start to cover that much land, that water's got to go somewhere. So while it may be a magnificent project, I don't know what the total value is of it, but to maintain condos like is across the street or single family homes, I think would be the best. We come in on the north edge now, and the backside of those 8 or 10 row houses or condos or whatever there is not a welcoming site. And I think this will not be, might be a little too dense too, and give us kind of the look to the left, look to the right, and it's not similar. Right now, it's a pretty view as we drive out of town along the right, and I think we could maintain that with a different designation for this property. Thanks.
Appreciate your comments.
Okay. Hi, I'm Sarah Drzymski. I live at 120 Cedar Lane here in Huxley. So, um, sorry, I'm nervous. Good evening, council members. I come to you as a community member, small business owner within the city and a parent within our school districts. In regards to the North Park Row House project, there are questions and concerns I would like to present to our city council members. A lot of them being in regards to the housing study that was completed in May of 2025. I know that a lot of the support of what they are saying needs for housing is that 60% of people stated that they had a hard time finding housing and that 40% left due to a lack of housing. In that study, a lot of the people that were looking for housing that wasn't being provided was mostly people that were looking for homes for sale that were either starter homes or less than $300,000 for a home. 18 of the 26 people that either commented or were surveyed stated that that's what their issue for affordability was. One of the 26 people were looking for income-based housing, which this project doesn't fulfill that either. And one of 26 people stated too high of rental rates in Huxley, which based off of the projected rental rates of this project compared to other rentals that are in Huxley right now, they wouldn't be below what a lot of the current offerings are in Huxley at this time. In the housing study, it also touched base on the vacancy rate within Huxley. At this time, I know that a few properties that at least advertise online, that there's approximately a 3.5% vacancy rate. I do understand Story County is seeing a need for a higher vacancy rate. My concern is just that with the volume that will be entering the market with some projects that are already currently occurring, that within the next couple years, that could put a little bit more of a strain than that 7% that the study is hoping to see. Because I do know that like with the Anthem project, they have approximately 45 units that are 1 and 2 bedroom that are going to be done for this coming leasing season, we'll say in 2026. And then another approximately 2 to 250 that will be done overall. So adding those and another 105 will double our rental housing market in Huxley alone. And that just causes a little bit of concern for the amount of vacancy rate that may occur in Huxley. With higher vacancy rates, all landlords are going to have different investors and different bottom dollars that everybody wants to hit. So with that comes a little bit of concern as well that like some people may end up renting to people that are not qualified based off of everybody's application processes. That could mean a variety of different things. That is not income-based or anything like that. There could be many reasons why you may not be approved to rent a unit from somebody. I know that they touched base as well on some of the jobs that may potentially come to Huxley. I've been in property management for about 15 years now, and have seen some of the different markets change in Huxley with businesses coming and going. In our current rentals, we have not seen a large increase or decrease with any of the companies that have come to town or left town. So we did have a couple tenants that were Craig Tool employees. We didn't see a large decrease in tenants when that left. I know YSS came to town and there was approximately 60-ish jobs that were going to be available. And we did not see much of an increase at all or really any increase from that either. So it also said in the study that some of the people that were looking for housing, like a large gap that wasn't being filled, was seasonal workers and people with disabilities. I don't really see this project fulfilling either of those housing needs for people. If they're going to be doing 1-year leases, that wouldn't really apply to short-term rentals or seasonal workers. And most tenants that are probably on disability would maybe not be able to afford a $900 to $1,700 a month unit. That might create a strain on them. Also talking about some of the strain in the housing project, it talks about lower cost burden housing, and that is needed in Huxley and in Story County. According to HUD, that would be less than 30% of a household income. So in that $20,000 to $50,000 a year income bracket, that would be looking at about a $500 to $1,300 a month unit. There's more people that are needing the lower end. I don't feel like this housing project fulfills that gap in the market that we have of people that are maybe needing a lower rental rate to live in. I don't feel like it fills that gap for people. And so people that would be living in this housing project would need to make a minimum of $35,000 a year to be able to even afford the lowest unit within that HUD housing stuff. Sorry. And then another concern too, just as a parent in the community, I'm all about, growing our school and having a great school system. I really like our school system. I like Ballard. I grew up here. I graduated from Ballard and I'm now seeing it from a parent's perspective. And I do know that by adding this project, houses the lots are already completed on the north end of town, and then a potential housing project on the southeast side of town, that I just see a potential for a strain on our school system. I do know that it would be getting taxes brought into our school system. But I do know that for class sizes, they've already changed just since my fourth grader was in kindergarten. They had 18 kids a class. Now they have 22 kids a class. We had to get rid of some classrooms because of budget issues. So just adding another approximately 12 kids, just according to the housing study, about 12 kids per grade level would be added. Can our school district, I know that's not a Huxley problem necessarily, but overall it is because we're a Ballard community. So can our school system absorb that and be able to still give our students the good quality of care that they're already receiving? So, but I thank you for your guys' time and hearing all of our voices tonight.
Thank you for your comments.
Chris Gardner, 103 Iron Drive, Huxley. I am the developer of Anthem on the south side of town. And I want to address a couple quick things. One just little comment on the regional detention. I've been required to do regional detention often. My Flight Bar and Grill strip mall, we actually do the retention for Fairway and part of the street behind us, and a little bit of the bank too. So I'm required to do. I was required to put that in, required to pay for it, and required to maintain it as well. So just real quick on that. Jensen's have 133 apartment units. Todd has 32 apartments for a combined of 165 apartments right now. My project you guys approved for me for 3 years ago, it's been in the process, total of 3 years, is 270 apartments that we're bringing into town. So I will be we'll be doubling our capacity here in a minute. Which this leads me, I was really honored that you guys worked with me on Anthem and supported that project. We've been applying for those tax credits for 2 years now. Thought I had it this year, and then an outsider to town came that you guys also supported, which really surprised me. And talking to Dylan Klein, talking to Dan Colhane, that works directly with Debbie Durham that awards those projects. Debbie made it very clear that it came down to the state wouldn't offer. She's like, I can't do two $1 million projects in Huxley. I just can't do two in one town like that size. So, and Abby's, because it's rehab and it just slightly scores better than mine, so they gave it to Abby. So that is $1 million that I was banking on, counting on, that is no longer on the table for me because someone outside of this community that you guys just met, that's very educated, very smart person. Abby's very well spoken. That I feel like hey, what about my project? It's a $40 million apartment project. It's $40 million. Now I have to compete against 100 other units that I was not banking on, not planning on. And granted, competition is competition, but you guys have to think through. I'm asking you guys respectfully to think through what this does for the entire community. And to have two projects, Abby's project suffer because she's competing against 270 apartments. My 270 units suffer because I'm competing against Abby. To have two projects competing for the same people that come into town. And that's really hard to do. She's already affected my project by $1 million. And I don't know, I mean, me going bankrupt in a couple of years because I can't fill my apartments is not healthy for Anthem and the side of town that you come in and see a project. And I just can't get my head around I'm not saying anybody owes me anything, but I've been here for 24 years and invested my entire life into this project. Everything, I bet everything I have on Anthem and to have to compete against an outsider for this, it blows my mind that that you guys would do that to me. And granted, that's hard to say. I shouldn't say it like that, but that's how I feel. So I'm sorry for that. The other is Abby's doing her research because saying she's doing her research. I mean, that housing study, there's 26 people answered the housing study. That's not research. That's like 26 people that happened to respond that day. That's not good research. Todd Peterson said that no one called him about the housing study. No one's asked him about his occupancy. And that's not a housing study. That's 26 people's opinion. For Abby to think that she wants to compete against me, this lets me feel that the real play, in my opinion, is for that $1 million tax credit. She's let me know, and it's public knowledge, I believe, that her Indianola project also got the $1 million tax credit, had another $1 million low income. I don't remember the exact process. So 2 million tax credits, and she already has it sold. So it's just a play for that tax credit money, in my opinion. It's not a play for, if it's really trying to care about this one project and care about this town, you wouldn't want to compete against 270 apartments. But you come in, look good, talk well educated, and can present yourself well, and you get $1 million tax credit and then flip it 3 months later. That's a good play. Smart business play. But that really hurts our community. So smart by Abby, smart to get those tax credits. Applaud her for her wit and her research, but that's a play on money, not a play for our community. And it just sucks to think that you guys invested in me and took trust in me to put $40 million in this community, and to detriment it is a scary project, scary thought for everybody. So hope I can make it.
Hey guys, Roger Farmer, 109 Sycamore. For those of you who don't know, if you go out the back door of Ballard Creek and head east, or the second house on the left, we went to the informational meeting in the library and also the planning and zoning meeting. And the concern for the traffic was a pretty big topic. And Abby said a couple times at both meetings, or once at both meetings, that they could possibly bring a street off of this basically southeast corner of the new development into the existing parking lot at Ballard Creek to relieve some of the traffic and possibly take them out on Sycamore. Well, once they connected the front parking lot at Ballard Creek to the back parking of Ballard Creek, people were treating Sycamore like a through street, and people were zipping right along, don't know if they're late for work or whatever. But our concern is that's going to be a lot of traffic on 69. So I was hoping that it'd be possible, if you do zone it residential, that there could be a stipulation added that they would not have access to Sycamore, that'd be a dead end street. And on that topic too, we called the city last year. They changed the sign at the end of down by Hickory that said not a through street, just a little white sign, but a great big yellow dead end sign, but didn't faze people. They come down there with pickups and trailers and stuff. We saw one guy had a cattle trailer behind him and he just didn't know what to do. So he drove through that retention pond and up the other side. So most of them do turn around. But anyway, it would be nice if they could put a series, like some dead end streets, they'll have a series of posts with a little triangular sign at the end so that they can see a block away that it's closed. So thank you.
I'm Pam Quinn. I just moved to your town probably last March. And I live at 200 Centennial Drive. I'm sorry. I cannot believe that even though this looks very nice, it doesn't give any amenities to the rest of the area. It doesn't fit in with any of the nice homes that's already out there. And surely you can find a developer or somebody that would be interested in putting in nice duplexes or twin homes or whatever you would like to call them now, or put in single family homes. We do not need the extra traffic. And like I say, I'm new to this area, but just observing, we don't need any more traffic out there, and we need somebody who would appreciate living in Huxley. I find it hard to believe that we got 1,100 jobs that people are looking for, unless I misunderstood that. I just think that you're doing a disservice to Huxley. With people coming into this town, they're going to see this and think, God, why would I want to move to this place? They could care less about how their town looks eventually, not now, but 5 years down the road, you're going to have problems. So I just want to give you my opinion and thank you.
Thank you, Pam.
My name is Jeremy Nobling and I live on 204 North Park. I'm new to town, but I'm not new to the community. Graduated Ballard, grew up here my whole life. You guys are probably better at this stuff than I am. I'll admit that, but my frustration, I guess I have with the use of the property is, Dave Jensen made a good point, is like Madrid Homes is holding us hostage a little, I guess. I'm just trying to understand, like, when we have to go and we build these developments, you know, Chris Gardner, and you have to come in and build, it seems like we have to jump through hoops to get things done for the city. I mean, there's, you know, you got all things, I'm not gonna get into that, but there's hoops you have to jump through. I guess I'm more concerned of like, why can't we change the process ahead of time? So we're not here to where the community's frustrated and we have no answers, right? They absolutely have they should absolutely spend the money up front to have a detailed site plan. I mean, I'm speaking on this project and then I'm going over to the one you guys at the council on. That is the frustration for me, is like, we just don't have enough detail. And then I guess we're asking you as the elected officials and the people we trust on. I'm not saying this doesn't need to be rezoned. I think R1, R2, great. I think it fits a lot better in R3. But we put our trust in you guys to listen to the community and their feedback and make the right decision. And I think that's coming back with a different site plan, a different, you know, I don't think R3 belongs, and she can be the developer, but she can develop an R2, you know, I'm all for that. So I guess that's where we lean on you guys, you know, you guys are the ones making the ultimate decision. And another frustration is you guys talk about tax dollars and the revenue generated. I understand that. We need that. We didn't make the deal 20 years ago to get no tax revenue. You know, so I don't feel like that's fair to us to now, what we feel like is pay a price for this all of a sudden needed tax revenue. And then you got Chris Gardner out there putting $40 million into a project. Our tax revenue is gonna go up. You got that project out there, you're voting on tax revenue. I mean, it's going, you know, and her survey said about tax or property values, well, are we talking tax evaluation? Because in the history of America, I don't think the tax evaluation has ever gone down unless we were in the Great Depression. So that's my 2 cents. I feel like it should be R2, R1. So thanks for your time, guys.
Thank you, Jeremy. Anybody else wishing to be heard this evening? I want to make sure everybody gets an opportunity.
Rick Peterson, 312 Centennial Drive. First of all, thank you guys for being up here and listening to everything. So I guess my 2 cents, I'll just kind of reiterate what has already been said, so I won't take a lot of your time. I'd be a proponent of R1, R2, just like it's been said here. I think that fits better. I think that is better with traffic. I think that when you look at schools and taxes on our services and things, I think that is more in line with what we can I don't know, I guess, grow with, you know, school wise and things like that. If you look at the growth that's going to be coming online with rentals, take R1 out of it. The strain that could be placed on the school, and I know that's separate than the city, but it all adds up. So I think, it just, the property, especially that north section there on North Park, would be better served as, you have R2 right across the street, and I think it would be better served as R2 there as well. Thanks.
Thanks, sir.
I'm Annette Zimmerman. I'm at 1020 North Park. The first thing that nobody's ever talked about is Highway 69 and the commercial. No commercial is going to go there unless we can get something, a driveway or whatever. Because you're not going to have a gas station or anything coming off of North Park going into that. So that's like a big thing. I've lived there since it's been built, and that's why nothing has been built there for 20 years, because nobody's going to let you make a driveway off of 69. So I don't know if anybody has pushed for that or what, but yes, we want something there, especially for the wind block, because the wind is horrible there. So it'd be great if something went there, but I know that there has been, I should go back. I have worked for almost every property management here in town, because I have a cleaning and painting business. And all of them are awesome, and they have tried to work with the city, and they've always come out saying that it was going to cost them too much to redo things and stuff like that. So now this has come up, and it's not even within our community. So I feel like it's going to hurt our, I don't know what to say, but you know where I'm going with that. And I just think that there's can be something else that could go there better, like a C1 or a C2, and make it look influent with the other properties there, like everyone else. I can't say for everyone, but I'm here speaking for a lot of people tonight. Thank you.
Anybody else from the public? Please.
Travis Zimmerman at 1012 North Park Boulevard. A lot of people haven't brought this up, but a few people in the area have asked if the mattered home could just be the R3 commercial development, and then the rest could be the R1, R2, and kind of do a different development. But that's the main question I have, just from you guys from a Huxley perspective.
Anybody else wishing to be heard on this matter? Okay, seeing no one rise, I will ask for a motion. I'm sorry. I was going to give Ms. Gilroy an opportunity. A lot of things have certainly been mentioned this evening. You don't need to respond to all of them. You'll have an opportunity next week, obviously, to present. But if you'd like to make any closing comments, you're welcome to.
Yeah, I will. I think that was a lot of good feedback. I hadn't heard some of that yet, so appreciate people standing up to do that. R2 zoning, I do want to just touch on that. That allows for a medium density development to occur here, which is the density that we're proposing of 8 or less units per acre. We do have 8 acres, so that's allowing us to do to do the number of units that we have here. So if we go to an R2, that will just, I believe, and I've got to look into your zoning further, but it allows for medium density is what we're proposing here. R3 is allowing for high density, which would take us to the next level. And essentially we can build hundreds of units there, which is not what we're proposing or intending to do. So I will look at that further for sure. Maybe that is the zoning request that needs to be made. I don't have a clear answer on that yet, but I would say in Googling it quickly, that is what I found. In regards to the detention, like I said, we will absolutely make sure that that stays top of mind. I'll make sure our design team knows that, not to worsen that. Our plan is to pull it west towards the existing ditch along the highway and capture stormwater that way. So we are pulling it away from the neighborhood, and I just want to make sure everyone's rest assured about that. I think we are following the process that was put before us. I don't feel like we're getting any special treatment or anything like that. Now, I don't know the other side of that story. I don't know what everyone else has been through. So I can't speak to that, but I would say I'm following the process that was put before us. We were told that Huxley certainly needed housing, even in addition to what was being developed or proposed to be developed. So going off of, that information that I've been provided and the work that I've done over the past year, that's what was put before us. I do think it would be really good for everyone to reference the Story County housing study. That's where I got a lot of good information, and the RDG study was much more in depth, took a lot more time to produce, and has a lot of really great information. And it is saying, and that is why we're proposing the housing we are, because the gap is in those income levels of 75,000 to 150. And me bringing a low income housing tax credit project, I didn't think would be accepted well, just based on the feedback that I had been getting. So I thought this was going to fill a gap very well that was existing in this study. As far as flipping tax credits or having different intentions than what I've presented to you throughout this process, I would say that isn't the business that I'm in. This is mission-driven type housing project. If I wasn't that, I'd put 200 units on this site because I can, based on some of the zoning regulations that you have. A tax credit, the $1 million, what that does is allows me to do a lower density project and still meet some of the financial requirements of doing a project like this. We have certain financial criteria you have to meet with your lenders, and building something this scale is very difficult to do without some sort of incentive. I did not come to the city for that through a tax abatement or TIF. I do it through the tax credit. We sell that to a tax credit investor and we buy down our debt with those dollars. We are not selling the project. We're not flipping this in any way, shape, or form. That is how the program works. We are issued a tax credit certificate, sell that to somebody that has tax credit or tax liability in Iowa, and then we pay down our debt with that. We do not pay our investors with it or any of those things. So I just want to clear the air there that I am not someone other than what I've presented to you. I have no reason to do that. I had a wonderful conversation with Chris in his office not long ago. I wanted to introduce myself and the project, and I felt that we both felt that I was bringing a product that was different. And yeah, there's always friendly competition in town, but I felt, and I felt he felt, that I was bringing something that would complement projects happening in Huxley, but it would be a different type of unit. It is not a multi-story. It is a single story with zero entry. So I would say I thought we had kind of cleared the air on that. Disability wise, like I said, these are zero entry. Bringing back the Madrid home units, we are not changing them except for updating them, cleaning those up, new finishes, that sort of thing. That's going to reopen 41, or we're going to convert. So we have 41 units in that building that went away from this community. There are people that need that housing, whether they're in a Newport or a nearby community or Huxley itself, that we don't have services for that use, but those units certainly exist. They are very accessible friendly, and I think we can address some of the age or disability type needs. So what else was there? Different types of housing, density wise, I talked about that. Stormwater, feel good about that. We can look into the zoning. Commercial, it hasn't been developed into single family in the time that it's been sitting there. I think there are home builders in Huxley clearly that have bought property and developed those into single family lots. No one has done that with this property yet. it's probably not going to happen. It hasn't become commercial because of the access, which was discussed tonight or brought up tonight. Bringing in a commercial property is going to worsen all of the concerns that are here tonight. This medium density use is exactly what's across the street. It is what is to the northwest. It is going to be the lesser of all of these evils that have been discussed tonight. And so that would be my responses to all the comments here tonight.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
With that, I would ask for a motion to adjourn the public hearing portion of this meeting.
I'll give you a motion.
Motion by Mr. Mulder,
Give me a second.
second by Ms. Roberts. All those in favor, please respond to the aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. So as I mentioned previously, the next step in this process will be next Tuesday, November 25th at 6 p.m. Will be a regular council meeting, and this will be an agenda item. Your council members will have an opportunity to vote on this rezoning after discussion. The public will certainly have an opportunity, as they do at every meeting, to speak as well. There'll be a public comment meeting at the beginning of the meeting, and you folks are all welcome to share your thoughts as well. You can certainly reach out to your council members, your elected officials in the meantime, or city staff as well, if you've got some specific questions that you would like addressed. With that, I would ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Give you a motion.
Motion, Mr. Mulder.
Second.
Second, Ms. Roberts. All those in favor, please respond to the aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you very much.